Pleasure, as always, to be joined now here on GCR by one of our favorites. He was part of Sirius XM's coverage of the NFL Draft this weekend, and we know him as a former Ravens offensive coordinator, all-around good guy. He's Coach Rick Neuheisel, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. Great to chat with you as always. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Oh, it's a treat to be back with you, my friend. Another stellar Raven draft, and I know we're going to talk about it.
You know, I wanted to start actually with their second pick, if I could, because I feel like you're someone who understands, as much as things have changed within the Ravens organization, their DNA has largely remained the same, right? A foundation laid by Ozzie Newsome and Art Modell that has continued over the years. Were you surprised that the Ravens were willing, when everybody else clearly was hands-off with Mike Green from Marshall, who we know is an incredible talent, were you surprised that they were the team that said, no, we're willing to take on that risk because of the talent?
It is surprising because the Ravens usually distance themselves from that kind of thing. Having been in Ozzie Newsome's war room all those years, I know what it meant to get a red, the scarlet letter, so to speak, right? So, yeah, that was surprising. And I said on our broadcast on NFL radio on Sirius XM, I said, that means that they've done their homework. There's no way that Eric DaCosta would be involved in there if they've not done the homework that feels like this is going to prove to be beneficial for the Ravens.
And I have every reason to believe that's the case. I will acknowledge, right, that on Thursday night when Mike Green was sitting there at 27, I said, boy, I wouldn't be angry if it was Mike Green, right? Like he's fallen a little bit. And then by the time it got to 59, there was a little bit of me that said, is there something we don't know about Mike Green? Like, why would this many teams continue to pass on him? And I think that's the part that concerned me a little bit. Is there any chance that, particularly given what the Chiefs have done, and they're like, zero intolerance policy over the last few years, Coach, that maybe the Ravens have found themselves willing to say, perhaps we need to change philosophy a little bit here to get over the Chiefs hump in the AFC?
I don't think so. Okay. I think they are very comfortable in their own skin, doing things the way they're doing them. I feel like the draft of a kicker late in the round suggests that there's still business as usual in terms of waiting to see what transpires in the Justin Tucker situation. This is a very proud organization. Steve Bisciotti still the captain of the ship. Ozzie Newsome sitting right there front and center. The DNA is still the DNA. I just feel they felt comfortable, or at least comfortable enough to make the Mike Green decision.
Now let me ask this part of it, right? Do you think there's a chance that Mike Green is so talented he could become the Ravens' first franchise edge rusher since Terrell Suggs?
I mean, anything's possible. I've not done the study that they've done on Mike Green. I know he was at the Senior Bowl, and I watched him bull rush a couple offensive linemen and look the part. Yeah. And then he wasn't there the next day. His agent said, "You've done enough. Get the heck out of there." But the bottom line is they know exactly what they're doing. They do exhaustive evaluations on all these guys. I thought the Malaki Starks pick was genius, and I think they were shocked that he was there. And who knows where they had Mike Green on their board, but when Starks was there, they had to take him.
He is Rick Neuheisel. He's with us here on GCR. I completely agree about Malaki Starks. The only surprising part is how many of us were kind of clued in that was the route they would have liked to have gone in the first round, because that's very un-Ravens-like. But as far as the pick is concerned, it seems about as Ravens as a pick as you can possibly get. Seems like it's very safe that he's an exceptional football player. Obviously is regarded extraordinarily highly as a human being. There is so much to like to me about Malaki Starks.
Oh, absolutely wonderful kid. Everybody at Georgia raves about him. A incredibly impressive freshman in a Kirby Smart secondary, which, like Nick Saban, who he tutored under, is a secondary guy. So you have to have a couple of things going for you if you're going to play as a freshman in the back end of a Kirby Smart defense. That's number one, great intelligence, and number two, great toughness. And his ability to go up and cover in the slot is exceptional. So the fact that he can do all that stuff says to me that the Ravens' eyes were bulging when he was still there.
Do you think it's best that he has a defined role on the or do you feel like this is now like the entire game of chess that the Ravens want to play with both he and Kyle Hamilton? Like, you have no idea where these guys are going to be coming from on a particular play.
Yeah, I think that's right. It allows great flexibility. There's no detecting who the box safety is and who the center fielder is. You have to do your homework, and they'll do a great job of disguising. And it'll be interesting to have quarterbacks try to figure that out. It'll be a game of chess and then some.
Coach, I know there were a couple of numbers from last year that suggested that he dipped a little bit coverage-wise. I'm guessing based on what you just said that you are not at all concerned about Malaki Starks in coverage.
No, I really am not. I don't know that they're going to have him in those situations on an every down basis, but I know he's capable of doing all that stuff. And I got a chance to meet the young man after the draft, after the night was over, and what a quality guy. I told him how much he's going to love Baltimore, and he said he couldn't wait. And I think the two are going to take to each other. Baltimore will love Malaki, and Malaki will love Baltimore.
He's Rick Neuheisel. He's with us here on GCR. It's funny, Coach, because like what you allude to, do you, as you're doing draft coverage, start to find yourself saying like, this is working out for the Ravens. I can't believe this is working out for the Ravens again. Do you have those feelings?
I thought it was going to be kind of like a Ben Grubbs pick, right? Remember when we took Ben out of Auburn, and just a solid SEC guy. I felt very comfortable that it would be somebody probably from the SEC. I felt I thought maybe one of the linebacker either from Georgia or from Alabama, and that just feels right down Ozzie Newsome lane, right? And then all of a sudden Malaki Starks was still there, and I'm sitting there going, they're taking this guy because had they not, the Eagles would have, and it turned out well for those who love the Ravens.
Coach, are you surprised that they went defense with each of their top? They did ultimately take Emery Jones, the offensive lineman from LSU, in round 3. But are you
who's a Ben Grubbs type?
So okay, let's go there for a second then before I come back to it. Do you think he's a guard at the NFL level?
I do.
Okay.
I think he's going to play guard, and Emery is one of those guys that likes to be in every play. I mean, at the end of that Senior Bowl, he was going toe-to-toe with anybody who wanted a piece of him. And I think he's the perfect Raven.
So do you feel like he could play like day one? I mean, they appear to have a left guard spot. Maybe either one of the guard spots could be open. Daniel Faalele played fairly well a year ago at right guard, but I don't know that they are married to him. And Andrew Voorhees, of course, the story from 2 years ago with him coming out at Stanford and would have been a higher pick. It felt like he was the default top of the depth chart at left guard, but it seems like either of those jobs could be available. Could Emery Jones be a day one starter in the third round?
Well, just remember he was a day one starter at LSU.
That's fair.
I mean, he and Will Campbell were both freshmen and both got put into the fire in the SEC and both survived it. I do think he's going to end up playing guard. Doesn't mean he couldn't play tackle, but I do think he'll end up playing guard, and I think he's going to be a quality guy for, if not the Ravens, somebody. But I think this is one of those picks that, again, they're just sitting there going, this is too good to be true.
Did you make, like, the first two picks both being defensive players, do you think that's just the player that was there and that this is what the Ravens do? They take that guy, or do you feel like that might have been their way of saying, yeah, have you seen our offense? We're good. Like we're okay over there.
Things are going our way offensively. Yeah, I had wondered if there might not be a play for a tight end, given where they are with their tight end
Mark
situation
Andrews,
and contract. I had wondered about that, but it seems as if they're pretty comfortable with the situation they find themselves in. And these are best available. Having been in that war room, Ozzie doesn't let the coaches in there very often. But when we got to go in, when you had to, you almost had to like the have that photographic memory of remembering where that board is. It's the best available world for them, especially when they're drafting in the 20s.
Coach, there was so much hand-wringing, obviously, over the weekend about the Shedeur Sanders thing. I know you shared some of the information that you had learned about how the process had gone.
Yeah.
I'm almost Shedeur Sanders out at this point, although the one that what is interesting to me, because it's within the division, I find myself saying, whatever happened in the process, if I were a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I might be furious that you had multiple opportunities to get a quarterback in the mid-rounds, and you didn't. Whatever the story is, it's not that big of a price to pay for it. You don't have a franchise quarterback on your roster. Why not take that swing? And for the Browns in the 5th round, even having already taken Dillon Gabriel, who I know you like, you don't have one either. Like, take as many swings as you can to find that guy.
So there's a couple of things in play here. Number one, I think the Steelers have a pretty good feeling about Aaron Rodgers to have passed on quarterbacks for as long as they did.
But I'll ask the question, is he still a franchise quarterback, Coach?
Well, given the Steelers' situation, I thought that was great that they went and got the running back from Iowa.
Right.
Given the Steelers' situation, and they have 2 alpha receivers, tall, good-looking receivers in Pickens and DK Metcalf, who comes over from Seattle. I think you can run the ball, you can play with your tight end, and Rodgers fits that. Can Rodgers, do what he did at Green Bay and be the quarterback that can gloss over a defense that's troubled? Probably not anymore. But when you have a defense and all you need to do is score 21 points a game to have a chance to win, to me, Rodgers still fits there, especially if they've got a running game. They went and kind of attacked the defensive line so that they could be better and stouter up front, especially given the conference that they play in and Derrick Henry coming downhill. But that to me was a tell that Mike Tomlin feels comfortable about Aaron Rodgers being a part of this team coming forward. I thought they were going to draft Riley Leonard. It ends up being Will Howard, and they're kind of the same guy, both Johnny Tryhard guys, and both look like they have the stuff to at least be on a roster, and who knows where it goes from there.
What about from the Browns side of the equation? Like, to me, this I absolutely feels like it's worth doing.
So the question there is that there's not enough footballs, right? There's not enough plays to get everybody practice time. So it means that Deshaun Watson's all but done there.
Right.
They can't have a plan for him going forward. I know he's nicked up, but they do owe him a lot of money. It means that they're going to let Joe Flacco just kind of watch and hopefully mentor, but kind of keep him as a insurance policy, and then play the 3-on-3 quarterbacks fighting for the job with Kenny Pickett, who they traded for with Philadelphia, and then the 2 draft choices, Gabriel and Sanders. And here's what I think might happen. If Shedeur will take this as it came and deal with, okay, what didn't they like about me, and try to fix that. And if he will follow the guy who's going to try to beat him out, Dillon Gabriel, and take from what Dillon Gabriel does and learn that kind of, attention to detail, efficiency, making the right decision. If he'll learn from Dillon Gabriel, as will be available to him, he's got a better skill set. But the question is, can he be as efficient and as calculated as Dillon Gabriel? And if he can, this could be the best thing ever happened to Shedeur, and consequently the best thing ever happened to the Browns.
Look, that is a little bit of a concerning part about all this for me, the rest of the division. Coach, before I let you go, if I could just run this by you, because we're still a ways away, but I know you spent a little bit more time covering the Big Ten this year over at CBS.
Right.
Maryland's got an interesting thing in front of them where, like, there's a lot of hype surrounding their freshman quarterback, Malik Washington, who's a really, really good young man. I've had the opportunity to get to know him here locally at Spalding. And I almost to the point where it feels like maybe you have to let him play, right? Like, you got to get this guy's feet wet. You got to see what you have, because there's so much about this program that feels like it's riding on his success. But then there's the other part of it, which is, can you throw an 18-year-old kid into the fires of the Big Ten? Is that just insane? Are you asking way too much? Like, can you start a true freshman if you're Maryland? Is that completely out of whack? And obviously, the unspoken part about all of this is that, like, do you worry that if you don't start the kid, that he'll say, "Hey, I might be able to be somewhere else, and I'll want to run off in the new era of football"?
Well, all kids are not created equal, and so the answer lies in it's a match between ability and the ability to process. If your ability is such that you need to be in the game, but you are not processing what the other team can do, or processing all that needs to be in the inventory of an offense, then you're going out there with an arm behind your back, and now you worry about the loss of confidence. You can go out there with a lesser skill set if you can process everything and understand how things work on both sides of the ball. And now the whole offense is at your disposal, and you can switch from what we call an uphill play, where the defense has you outnumbered, and get to a downhill play where you've got an angle or numbers advantage. And if it's just unusual for a freshman to be that far along in his acumen to be ready to do that. But if he is that far along, then it doesn't matter at all when you go in there. As long as you know what's happening out there, and it's not and you're a step ahead of it where it feels like it's moving in slow motion. When you're out there and all of a sudden your eyes go down to watch how your offensive guard's blocking that three technique,
Sure.
Now it's overwhelming, and now nothing good can happen regardless of your ability. You might make a couple guys miss, but you're not going to really understand. So Mike Locksley's got to figure out, where is this guy in his development? I want to protect his confidence, but if he's a processor and he can go out there and know exactly what's going on the other side, which takes time and energy, if he can do that, then he should play.
And look, in the spring game, we didn't see him go through the reads much, but that's also a spring game. I'm not really sure how much you're going to be showing.
So what happens a lot with young players is you go into what we call progression reads, meaning that you're not so worried about what happens with the defense. You're just going, okay, I'm looking at that receiver to that receiver to that receiver,
right.
and then the fourth choice is your legs. You just take off, and you do that a lot from outside the pocket, where you can just kind of manipulate people by getting out on the edges with the great athletes. So we'll see what Mike has up his sleeve.
Coach, obviously you're back at it, 9 to noon, right?
Back at it again. We go 9 to noon on Full Ride, and I'm loving it, and hopefully people will tune in. Get the latest on what's happening in the college world on Channel 84, Sirius XM.
Coach, always appreciate you. Looking forward to talking again when we get to the fall and get to college football season. Really, thank you for taking the time, as always, and looking forward to that next conversation already.
It's my treat. I love my friends in Baltimore. Go Ravens.